Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you. Of course, we are pleased to be joined by Marty Czekala of RSN Trackside and whatever the hell else he does.
Yeah.
How are you, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah. So, what have you been up to? I know the local dirt racing or local racing out in New York is about to kick in.
Yeah.
What's that going to be like to kick off the coverage there?
Yeah, so this season dirt racing is going to be huge. Bigger year obviously than last year with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff I like to do when it comes to the local dirt racing cover the big block modifieds, the Super Dirt Car Series. They were in Bristol last weekend with the Outlaws for the Bristol Throwdown. And last year was just a tough year in New York dealing with the racetracks and how the government would handle reopening the tracks in that situation. And the thing was with last year, you needed fans because fans make up the gate every single year. They make up the majority of money at these local racetracks, and having no fans pretty much at all the racetracks this season was just a loss for the racetracks and the Super Dirt Car Series because they don't just get fans from fans and teams from New York, they get them from Canada as well. And now the fact that they're reopening the tracks with fans in the stands, it's going to be great. Looking forward to doing races this season, not just for RSN Trackside. I have another role at Race Pro Weekly, one of the big New York racing columns, and I'll be covering a bunch of the racing here on the Western New York side of things. I'll be doing Genesee Speedway. Right now, I think that's the plan this weekend. I'm not sure if I'll be doing that or Land of Legends. I'll be there next week for the 360 Empire Super Sprints, and then pretty much the big block modified Super Dirt Car Series coverage kicks off for me this May when they're in Weedsport.
You're gonna be a busy person, you and yeah, of course.
Me and
Yeah.
Kelvin, yeah.
Oh yeah, big time. So besides that, I know you were doing some NASCAR stuff as well. Um,
Yep.
so what's that been like, to how has the season kind of gone? We're 10 races in. We're gonna head to Kansas for race number 11. What are you gonna expect out there?
You know, Fox NASCAR called this the best season ever headed into 2021, and right now I think they're right.
Yeah.
With the variety of the winners we've had this season, I'm not going to say parity. I think variety should be the better term that should be used here by the media. 9 different winners in 10 races. It's crazy that half the playoff spots, pretty much over half the playoff spots, have been filled, and we haven't even reached the Coca-Cola 600, which is usually the halfway point at the regular season. You know, Talladega, a wild card race. I thought we were going to have another unexpected winner, but happy to see Brad Keselowski pick up the win. It really does. It doesn't make up for all the Daytona 500, but it makes up most of it. And going into Kansas this weekend, a 1.5 mile intermediate track, we thought Las Vegas was a good race. Oh boy, I'm interested in seeing how Kansas goes this weekend. I know a lot of fans don't like the 550 high downforce package, whatever the code name is. But with the racing it produced last fall, I think we should be in for another good race with what this package puts up.
I think Kansas is underrated when it comes to when the NASCAR cars go there. So, the Truck Series will also be there. The ARCA Menard Series will also be there. What from what I don't know if you paid attention to a lot of the other series because a lot of Toyotas are winning in the truck. Toyotas won every single truck race. KBM's on a bit of a streak right now. It looks like for me, and I was telling somebody this, I just think that when you look at what Toyota has been able to do in the truck series is just absolutely incredible. And I kind of did expect this when ThorSport came there and when John Hunter came there. I knew Toyota was going to be there. And David Wilson has said this in the past. Last year was not a good year overall across the board for Toyota. And now it's, obviously much better. They've won all the ARCA races. They've won all the truck races. And I think they could win all the truck races this year because,
definitely a huge improvement this year for Toyota, no doubt. When ThorSport announced their switch back over to Toyota, I immediately asked Matt Crafton. He was with Toyota before when he won his championships back in 2013 and 2014, and he thinks this is going to put ThorSport back to its winning ways. Excuse me. We saw that the first 2 races of the season with Ben Rhodes winning. We're expecting to see it with Matt Crafton, maybe Johnny Sauter, possibly the '98 combination of Enfinger and Eckes too. KBM back to its winning ways like we saw back in the early to mid 2010s. You know, Kyle Busch being Kyle Busch, winning a race this season early on in Atlanta. But John Hunter Nemechek is really taking this team up to the next level. Having a veteran that has Cup experience move back down to the Truck Series was really what KBM needed. And I think, you know, the number 14 doing a great job. Hunter Nemechek's got to win. You know, we're bound to see Chandler Smith in victory lane this season after the performance he had at Richmond. I know Kyle Busch said he didn't think they were going to win until that performance at Richmond where they had that top 5 run leading a bunch of laps. I think that 18 will be in victory lane before we know it.
Yeah. By the way, Christian Eckes in the 98 this week. Kyle is back in the 51. Grant Enfinger will be driving Cody Robaugh's truck in the CR7. So just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah.
So far this year, I know you've been a busy person, covering, I think you were doing some lacrosse thing. What's that all about?
So for those who follow me specifically for the racing purposes, outside of racing, I've got 2 other jobs, I guess you could say the least. The biggest job I have, and the one I usually put a lot of priority to before NASCAR, I mean, with the local racing coverage that will sometimes go above Brockport depending on it. But I am the play-by-play voice for the Brockport Golden Eagles in NCAA Division III. College here in Brockport, New York. We're based out of the SUNYAC Conference, as well as the Empire 8 Conference for football. Spring sports have been back for a few weeks now. It's great to have sports back. We've missed the fans, no fans for spring sports. So pretty much the broadcasts are like the big picture this season. I'm on the call for men's and women's lacrosse, baseball and softball. Before we talked, I just got off the phone with both coaches for Brockport and Oneonta for women's lacrosse, because Brockport is a top 25 women's lacrosse ranked team nationally. They are very good, undefeated at home this season. They're hosting a semifinal matchup in the SUNYAC Conference against Oneonta Thursday. I'm on the call for that at 4:00. Men's lacrosse season is at an end today as we record this. They could not make the top 2 from what I know of. Baseball's been having a really good season so far, better than expected. I don't think anyone expected to see them with a 10-game winning streak. And then softball has been having a good season so far at a 500 record. They've split every doubleheader this season. But I'm just glad to be back at Brockport. I've missed those guys. I'm glad to call them a big part of my family. And yeah, I love play-by-play. That's what I want to do, really. That's the main goal when we get into the future, be doing play-by-play, hopefully for NASCAR or any racing. If not, I got other sports I can rely on.
Right. So so I know that next week at Darlington is going to be, throwback weekend. I know I don't know if you've been paying attention, but I know that there have been a few that were released today. Mike Lynette's Darrell Waltrip scheme. By the way, big shout out to Ryan Williams, who's designed all these junior motorsports paint schemes. They look awesome. And then also Tyler Ankrum is going to be throwing it back to Ricky Bobby, running the famous Wonder Bread scheme. Of course, the Luna colors will be on there as well. What's your favorite throwback so far, bud?
The Truck Series throwback of Ankrum. I did see that today.
I did, yeah. That was pretty cool.
That is one of my favorites right now, making the tribute to Ricky Bobby. I saw Ankrum's tweet. That was pretty funny. I haven't seen a bunch of the Cup throwback schemes yet because I haven't been on Twitter as much these past few weeks with my Brockport commitments, doing prep work for those games. And for Cup, it's tough to say, really, to tell you the truth. I'll tell you for Xfinity, though, I really like what Jeb Burton has. I saw his throwback yesterday with the tweet to Word from the late 90s, I think it was.
Yeah.
As for Cup, that's a tough one, to tell you the truth. I know Harvick's got a lot of great Busch schemes every year for.
Denny Hamlin just released his. I think the fans voted on that one.
Okay.
I don't know. A lot of them haven't really announced them on the Cup side. I know there's been a lot of Xfinity one. The Tommy Joe Martin's he threw it back to the Rich Bickle scheme, the 10-10-3-4-5 Lucky car. So that was a cool one. So we had Tommy talking about that. Jay Buford's Dan Gurney throwback scheme, and then Justin Allgaier is running, I think, the Humor Bar scheme. And then of course,
Nice.
Josh Berry's, throwing it back to Dale Jr. How about the Michael Waltrip, Derek Kraus is Michael Waltrip's going to be featured a lot in the Truck Series. So BMR and Derek BMR is throwing it back to Michael Waltrip's 2003 Daytona 500 scheme. So,
That's pretty cool. That's actually one of the schemes I have not seen. I've yet to check that out.
yeah.
But a throwback to Mikey, being there for every truck race as a color commentator for Fox. That's pretty cool. And especially with Michael Waltrip's relationship he had with Toyota from their inception in 2007 until Michael Waltrip Racing folded at the end of the 2015 season. I like what Kraus and BMR are doing with
Yeah,
that.
of course, Waltrip also has a relationship with BMR. I know he's was sponsored by Napa so many years, and there's also going to be another Michael Waltrip throwback in the Truck Series. Of course, Danny Bone is running the Country Time scheme,
Ooh,
number 30.
that takes me back. I wasn't even born when Michael Waltrip drove that car.
There have been some pretty good ones. I'm probably missing a few, but I can't wait to see who else comes up with all that. But anyway, I know you and Kelvin do some predictions. I know you don't want to give yours away just yet, and I'm not going to give mine away because, of course, when I do the preview show with Jonathan Fiel every week. So what are you going to expect? Who's going to do well?
Well, it's interesting. I think you have to look at first off the Hendrick Motorsports drivers. Kyle Larson, William Byron have both won with this package. Byron winning at Homestead, and then Larson won at Las Vegas.
Mhm.
But outside of those guys, I think the Team Penske guys should be a threat to watch out for once again. Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney did a great job at Las Vegas. Blaney winning at Atlanta, just coming out of nowhere on Kyle Larson. So those are really that's the main teams I have to watch out for. And then obviously Denny Hamlin. If Denny Hamlin's not in your list of drivers to watch out for, I don't know if you've been living under a rock or not.
I mean, he hasn't won yet this year.
He's due up for a win, Casey.
Yeah, he is due up for a win. Denny hasn't won yet. Kyle hasn't won yet. Chase hasn't won yet. Kevin Harvick hasn't won yet. And then all these other guys are winning. All the Penske guys have won. So the thing is, you have the guaranteed spots in there, but I think we're going to get more than 16 winners because we're just seeing all these guys, win, because Chase is going to win one at some point. I really think Kevin's going to get something done. I think we could see 2 or 3 other surprise winners. That's really, to me, it's just how this year is working. But
Yeah, and continuing on with that, this came up in my mind Sunday night after we talked with Michael McDowell post race in the Zoom media calls. He was actually doing one today. So I hope somebody asks this question in the long term, because I'm curious if that team is thinking, there could be 17 different winners, and if there is, Michael McDowell could be out of the playoffs despite winning the Daytona 500. I know we're not there yet, but that could be a possibility, and it would have to be a possibility where McDowell could have to go into Daytona in the 400-mile race in a must-win situation. I know it's a little bit early to talk about that, but that is one of the things that could be on the 34 team's mind.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, it's definitely going to be something to watch. But there's been some news surrounding him. Of course, he'll be in a nationwide ad commercial for CarParts.com. So so that'll be fun. But anyway, Marty, always a pleasure to talk with you about whatever else, about NASCAR. Of course, catch RSN Trackside. Hey, who's going to be on this week?
We got nobody on. I don't think we have anyone on this week, but you'll never know. Stay tuned. We're in the process of talking with a few people possibly for this week, but Wednesday night, stay tuned for the time on our Facebook and Twitter pages at RSN Trackside. We're still figuring that out, obviously, with my spring sport stuff at Brockport. Transportation sometimes a pain when it comes to that, and it's a 45-minute drive from my house, so got to figure that out. We'll recap Talladega, Bristol Dirt for the Super Dirt Car Series. We'll give the Lattimore Physical Therapy Power Rankings. That's the top 10 drivers in the Cup Series on Kelvin and I opinion every week, plus the good, bad, and ugly. We'll preview Kansas this weekend. And Saturday, stay tuned to the Facebook page for RSN Trackside. I'm doing like I said, I'm beginning local coverage this weekend. either Genesee Speedway in Batavia or Land of Legends Raceway in Canandaigua, New York. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be a fun 2021 in the grassroots coverage here for dirt car racing in the Northeast, as well as for my friends in the Asphalt Modified series too. I can't forget those guys either.